Today we're going to talk about genetic mutations. This title slide has a few pictures. The first picture is of an African American boy who is an albino, which means he has a lack of pigment in his skin, and we'll talk more about that later. The second picture is to show a red blood cell, what a normal one looks like, and then what one looks like if you have the sickle cell anemia. And then the last picture is to show you what a pedigree chart looks like, and we'll be talking about all of these later on, more in depth. Variety. 99.9% of DNA in two people are the same. Only 0.1% is different, which makes you unique. Variety in people. This is where the genes and their interaction with the environment are what determine the traits of a person. A mutation is any change in DNA. A genetic disorder is a disease or condition that results from the mutations that affect the normal functioning of a cell. Some examples of inherited disorders, some inherited genetic disorders include Tay-Sachs disease, cystic fibrosis, sickle cell anemia, and albinism. These are just 4 examples of the different types of inherited disorders. There are many more out there. These are just some of the more common ones, I guess you could say. And an example of an environmental disorder, genetic disorder, would be cancer. A pedigree chart, or a pedigree, is a diagram of family relationships that includes 2 or more generations. Selective breeding is the process of selecting and breeding parent organisms to pass on particular traits to the offspring. And remember, offspring means children, kids. Genetic engineering is a sequence of DNA from one organism is first isolated, then it's inserted into the DNA of another organism. A genome is all the genetic material in an organism, and cloning is a technique that uses technology to make copies. Again, this is a picture of, on the right hand side, you see 3 normal looking red blood cells, whereas on the left hand side of this picture shows you what a red blood cell looks like if it is affected by the sickle cell anemia disease. This picture is of a girl who is albino. As you can see, she has white hair. Her eyelashes, her eyebrows are white. She's got very pale skin. A lot of albinos have pale blue eyes or gray looking eyes. This is an example of a pedigree chart. We'll be working through several of these throughout the genetics unit. So that way you'll get familiar with how to analyze and interpret these types of this type of information. And cloning. This is a picture of the very first organism that was cloned, which was Dolly, which is a sheep. And she was the first organism that was cloned, and this is her clone. These are the resources that I used.